Hello. Hello. This is a result of many days of studying for my IB exams, frying my brain, and this is what that built up to. So over the weekend, I had gone to see a movie for May 4th, Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. The movie that I went to go see was showing at an indie theater here in Singapore, known as The Projector, shout out to them. And it was called
Dünyayı kurtaran adam.
Dünyayı kurtaran adam. Anyway, aka otherwise known as The Man Who Saved the World, much better known as Turkish Star Wars. Turkish Star Wars, I don't know how to begin to explain the experience of seeing that movie. I'm gonna give a little first personal background information before we fully start off on this fun journey. It all started for me with Turkish Luke Skywalker. The Projector shows all kinds of like new movies, old movies, film festival movies, etc. And the one in Golden Mile Tower, the original one, I'm pretty sure it's the only one that does this, plays a PSA before every movie. And I've been going to this theater since I was a kid. So I've seen this PSA many times. And it is fucking hilarious. Essentially, it's just a training montage. And basically it's just like, don't speak in the movies, don't be rude in the movies, don't like check your phone in the movies. Basically being like, Turkish Luke Skywalker will beat you up. It's really funny, it's witty, it's clever. And so that was something, okay, there's thunder. Pathetic fallacy, am I right? Shut the fuck up. So that was something that I thought was so fucking funny. Anyway, so that's where that started for me. Turkish Luke Skywalker. So flash forward to Saturday, May 3rd. I'm going to the Projector again and I'm seeing Donnie Darko. Fucking fantastic movie. Anyway, seeing Donnie Darko. As I'm sitting there, relaxing, eating my popcorn, I see a trailer for a movie, Turkish Star Wars. One time only screening for May 4th, only at the Projector. I know that I have to see this movie. So I bought tickets right after I got home and I went and I saw it the next day with my dad because he also wanted to see it. So that was my personal little background information about how I found the movie, just what it really meant to me. So now we can get on to like the actual background of the movie, because I've been talking about Turkish Luke Skywalker and Turkish Star Wars this whole time as if everyone knows what I'm talking about. And by everyone I mean like 2 people who watch it, whatever. So I'm consulting my notes. I've taken notes on this instead of studying for my exams, but we're not going to talk about that. I deserve a day off. And by day off I mean relentlessly studying another random topic that I don't need to know about instead of relaxing, but whatever. So the subgenre of mockbusters, which is, you know, basically blockbusters, mockbusters, has been celebrated for years and years and years. Usually in some kind of ironic, kind of joke way, but it has. And it is essentially because of the trading of old VHS tapes and copied DVDs that have been just moving around, I guess. Okay. Turkish Star Wars is essentially one of the biggest names in mockbusters genre. So let's get into some background information. Let's get onto the IMDb page for a sec. The IMDb page describes it as the adaptation of Star Wars and has 34 critic reviews, and it is surprisingly a 4.4 out of 10. I think the reason for this is many people rate it super high, as did I, because it's just hilarious. Like, for example, my Letterboxd review is 5 stars. And I just said, I can't even begin to describe the experience of watching this in a small indie movie theater, no less, and I don't think I'll ever experience it ever again. So, so that's my review of the movie. Background info. In 1982, the film
Dünyayı kurtaran adam.
was put out into the world, or by the world, Turkey, because it's a Turkish movie, obviously. Oh, side note, there is a YouTube video by Ed Glazer that is like 8 minutes and goes over some stuff, which is really cool, so check that out. So some more background info, there's some like weird stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about is the coup. Okay, so to give context to the area at the time of Turkey, in the 1980s, there was a lot of political stuff going on. I'm not a history student, so I don't know that much about that, but I will do my best to quickly give an overview as to what was happening. So there was essentially a coup in September in the 1980s, a military coup, which basically was resulting slowly in the end of the golden age of Turkish cinema, replacing that with TV. And also another result of this coup was that the film board and government was clamping down on like Western films and Western made movies entering the country. So a lot of Western films, or American films essentially, were very difficult to access, if not impossible, which is one of the many reasons that this film was made. So keeping those two things in mind, the company that made this film, I need to learn how to On It film, was in the middle of like an 8-movie contract with the lead of this movie, whose name is Cüneyt Arkın, I think. I'm not Turkish. Pronunciations, I'm trying, okay? So they were in the middle of an 8-movie contract. So because of the political situation and politics obviously being off the table, the director thought that it would be a good idea to head in the direction of more action and science fiction films for kids, essentially. Just something fun for the kids. And that is when the director Çetin İnanç, I think, began to brainstorm the idea of basically loosely remaking Star Wars movies, specifically taking inspiration from The Empire Strikes Back. So that was the coup. Now let's get into all the rip-offs that were used. So one of the things that this movie is so well known for is brazenly ripping off Star Wars. And not only ripping off the plot and ideas of it, but also stealing film footage and music from not only Star Wars, but other movies as well. So they used a lot of unlicensed stock footage from Star Wars A New Hope, as borrowing the film reel from Star Wars. Basically, they borrowed it from a film distributor, and then they made copies of the shots that the director wanted. Mostly the space footage, because that was really hard, obviously, to film on a low-budget movie in Turkey during the 1980s. So most of the space scenes were just footage of the ships and the pilots in the actual movie, and then occasionally cutting to a character being green screened in the seat of one of the ships, moving weirdly. So there's that. The film also uses footage and music from other well-known films at the time, unlicensed footage, music, and sound effects from Battlestar Galactica, Flash Gordon, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, all completely unauthorized. They stole this footage. That was one of the main issues with it. Not the only issue, the movie's just bad, but that's the main issue of the film. As well as stealing actual footage from Star Wars movies, other gaps in the films were filled with stock footage of Russian space programs and old newsreel clips of NASA rocket launches. Okay, the movie also basically takes Battlestar Galactica's music, Raiders of the Lost Ark theme tune, Flash Gordon, Moonraker, Planet of the Apes, Silent Running, and even uses Bach's Toccata in the Fugue in D minor. So, those are some extra things. Moving on. Weird shit. So, with a budget of $300,000, which is not a high budget at all for any movie, let alone a sci-fi action movie, the crew set was working on building an outdoor spaceship set, but it was wiped out along with all of their work by some freak storm that happened in the area, which pretty much sucked away almost like a lot of their budget. So that is one of the reasons that they stole footage for the movie. Also, I found the original movie on Internet Archive, and the person who uploaded it says, and I quote, "Not a very good print. The sound goes out of sync in places. Sorry, there probably aren't any good prints, as this is known to be an abandoned film. Probably out of embarrassment, as the Turkish film industry has come a long way since 1982. No copyright appears on this film anywhere." So basically, saying what we already know. No copyright, it's been recalled, basically, and an abandoned film. So there are very few copies of this film anywhere, and even less with English subtitles. The movie pretty much remained completely under the radar until like bootleggers brought it to the US, which led to its cult following now. So the way that it eventually appeared into the public eye, or the very small public eye, is that in 2015, an advertisement appeared online which offered a 35mm distribution of this movie. It turns out that back in the 80s, some Turkish projectionist had held onto a copy claiming that it had been so severely damaged that it wasn't worth giving back to the studio. And it was the only print in existence. Basically, the person who got it said that by the time they got a hold of it, it was not a pristine print, the color had faded, and they had to reconstruct parts of it from video sources. So it was an incomplete movie, essentially also, which really adds to the just insanity of the whole situation. It's almost like it's essentially a piece of lost media that has been found and reconstructed. So throughout the movie, the image quality changes, the sound quality changes occasionally, so which I think really adds to everything. So yeah, let's look at the cast of the movie. So I'm not Turkish, nor do I know how to speak Turkish. I will be trying my best to pronounce all of the names. I probably will not do very well, but anyway. As mentioned before, the director was Çetin İnanç, and the writer was Cüneyt Arkın. The lead is Cüneyt Arkın also, so he both wrote and starred in it. And I'm not even gonna... There are a lot, I'll show something. Okay, so with that out of the way, we can start to get into the plot of this movie, which is... the only way to describe it is outrageous. So keeping everything else in mind, the plot is still the craziest part of this movie. So I'll be going through my notes because watching that movie felt like a fever dream and I do not remember all of it. The plot summary on Wikipedia states, set in outer space on a fictional planet, two pilots named Murat and Ali must find the evil tyrant wizard and stop him from tyrannizing and enslaving the people and from destroying planets. So there's that. Let's get into the plot. The movie follows the adventures of two fighter pilots, two comrades, as mentioned, Murat and Ali. Murat is played by Arkin, and Ali is played by Akia, I don't know, whose ships basically crashed on a desert planet. They crashed. Their ships didn't crash. They crashed after falling out of the sky in their ships, and they crashed, but their ships are gone. So, they crashed. No way of getting out. They don't know where they are. They're fucked. So, another thing about this movie is that it is very sexist. And occasionally racist. So, while they're hiking across the sand dunes of this seemingly deserted planet, one of them speculates that the planet is inhabited by only women. And they're like, wow, what, like, that would be so cool.
I love women.
Maybe this planet is only women. So then Ali decides to use his irresistible wolf whistling to try and lure women to them. So he starts whistling some like weird jaunty tune, and they're both laughing and they're like, oh, the women are all gonna come. But instead of luring women, they attract the attention of a group of skeletons on horseback that come in and try to attack them on horseback. And they get into this huge fight. They're kicking people, they're kicking these skeletons off of their horses, they're killing them, they're defeating them. They defeat them in hand-to-hand combat, and they're doing all kinds of crazy flips on and off the horses.
And then the horses are
And then they take two of their horses after they're all dead, and they ride off further into the desert. So it becomes strikingly clear that this planet is not inhabited by only women. Then the wizard appears and basically captures both of them. Not basically, he captures both of them and brings them to some kind of gladiator arena thing, which is just like outside of this random mountain with tunnels in it. He tells them that he is a 1,000-year-old wizard from Earth. In this universe, Earth exists. Earth was like shattered into a bunch of different pieces because of like nuclear warfare. So Earth exists, but it is split into different parts. PSA, I could be completely wrong. I barely understand what happened in that movie, let alone the backstory of Earth that was explained in like 2 seconds at the start. And he's tried to defeat Earth, but had been repelled by, and I quote, a shield of concentrated human brain molecules, which is depicted with footage of the Death Star. And the wizard hates Earth and wants to destroy it completely. So this shield of concentrated human brain molecules, which is the Death Star apparently, is the reason that he has not been able to kill all of Earth. So they are forced into another fight. There are a lot of fight sequences in this movie. So they're forced into another fight in this gladiator arena. And again, with a bunch of ridiculous fighting sequences, they win. Or not win, they escape and they go and they hide in this cave full of refugees that are basically suffering under the tyranny of this wizard. And they're all like hiding in these underground cities, this is actually really cool because the whole thing is shot and filmed obviously in Turkey, and they use all of these like underground tunnel systems and like mountainside inner cities that actually exist. So like that was a genuinely cool part of the movie. Like that's the only cool part of the movie I think, is like going there and being able to see these historical ruins of like underground city systems. It's really sad that it was used as a set for this awful movie, but it was really cool to see. So anyway, they flee into these caves, and everyone in this cave is all children and men, and there's one woman who is named Ukar. And Murat, one of the two fighter pilots, immediately develops a romantic connection to the only woman that's there. Also, ironically, she is taking care of all of the children in this cave. So, also, she doesn't speak until later on in the movie when she like reveals that she took a vow of silence until something is found, which I'll get into later. So the only romantic connection they have is him speaking at her, them making weird eye contact and basically eye fucking, and then her making the most awkward smile I've ever seen while this weird love music plays in the background. So she doesn't speak at all. She just smiles at him and stares at him. So there's that. Then a group of zombies, which the wizard has created, invade the cave and start killing children and infecting children and just causing havoc. So their blood is basically used to make the wizard immortal. So he's found the secret to immortality, and it is drinking the blood of people, I guess. Maybe children? I don't know. It's something to do with blood. He is slurping down blood through a literal silly straw. I don't know, it's just something blood. They flee the cave, and then the two men find a local bar. And it's basically using the exact footage of the Mos Eisley Cantina from Star Wars. So they get into a fight in this bar with three people wearing very racially offensive masks. So that happens. There are three of them. So that, yeah, it was very odd. So that was a scene. So the wizard appears basically because he can teleport. He appears, he plays his music. This is the wizard, by the way. This is what he looks like. As you can see, he's very threatening and evil, and you do not want to mess with him because he will destroy you. And he captures them and takes them back to his lair. So he separates the men to try and convince them to join him in separate ways. So he's using different manipulation tactics. He sends his queen, which I'm assuming is his wife. I don't know. He sends the queen to seduce Ali into joining them. While he orders Murat to be like, bring him to me. So they bring him to the wizard. He offers Murat the chance to rule the cosmos together. So there's that. Definitely not a take on rule the galaxy as father and son. The wizard says to Murat, he explains that he has, basically he possesses the power of Earth's ancestry in the form of this golden brain. And the only thing that he needs left in order to conquer the Earth, which he says it a lot, he wants to conquer Earth. That's the only drive he has the whole movie. That's his life goal. He wants to conquer Earth.
Destroy the Glee Club.
He tells Murat that the only way that he can conquer Earth is if he gets a real human brain. It's not the golden brain. He needs the golden brain and the human brain. He needs both of them. And the human brain is the only thing he needs left. He needs to conquer Earth with this human brain. The wizard shows that he has the woman he's in love with and the child. It turns out to be her brother. And I don't know, it's really funny actually. He brings them in. All she does is they're hugging. All she does is she cries and she leans her head on him and she stares at him. And then they disappear. So Murat gets super angry by this. The love of his life that he met 40 minutes ago is being held captive. So he fights all of the wizard's monsters and the skeleton guards in order to attack. And then they jump in the midst of Ali being seduced by this queen. And as they're about to kiss, a bunch of monsters attack, and he beats them and joins Murat in his fight. So they're both knocked out by laser-armed guards, and they're tortured unsuccessfully. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but I guess they're being tortured by this wizard, who says that the reason that they are unable to be tortured is because of their human spirit. The most hilarious example of this is he tries to bury them alive, and he puts them in these 2 graves filled with sand, and he's like, you guys will never survive this, you guys are gonna die, and I'll be able to conquer Earth and all that. And he buries them, and then like 5 minutes later they just pop up still breathing out of the grave, and he's like, darn it, those humans with their human spirit. So he can't kill them, and he comes to the conclusion that they are their attachment or whatever to each other, like their bond of brotherhood and camaraderie, is one of the main reasons that he can't kill them. He says that their bond is too strong to be killed. So then Murat is pitted against this giant monster that the wizard calls Dragon in the gladiator arena, and the wizard once again is so confident that he will never beat this thing. This thing is huge, it has ribbons for claws, so there's that. And the thing about the wizard is he's so confident all the time, and he's always like, they will never beat this will kill them, and he's always wrong. So Murat defeats the monster pretty spectacularly. He's flipping over him, he's kicking him, there's one part where he just does a bunch of flips over him, like he's not even hitting the monster, he's just flipping over him and jumping and stuff. But he flees, and he takes the woman and her brother with him, and Ali is left there, I guess. He left Ali there. So then this whole movie takes a huge turn when we meet the old man leader of the refugees or whatever. We met him earlier. Basically, he's just the one who was telling them to do everything, and we find out that the woman is his daughter. So that, I guess, is important. But we also find out, in a massive plot twist, that he takes Murat to these ruins, and it's basically, he talks about Islam, and it just takes a really weird turn. Like, it just came out of left field. Like, there was no sign of any religious anything in this movie, and then he goes on this like rant, and he talks about Jesus a lot, and then he talks about he mentions the wizard. Apparently the wizard is somehow involved in this too, like he's as old as Jesus or something. I really don't know. This part was so confusing. I don't know. So he finds out, then within all of this talk, he tells Murat about a sword made by the 13th clan, who melted a mountain like thousands of space years ago. So space years and human years are different, but they melted a mountain thousands of space years ago, and he needs it. So Murat goes to find it. So he finds a sword, and it's shaped like a lightning bolt, and it's in a cave that is defended by these 2 golden guards. Or golden, like they're guards, but they're also ninjas. They're like golden ninjas that are guarding the sword. And after he just basically goes in and like takes the sword and then like quickly defeats them. Like, it's not even really a fight. It's kind of embarrassing for the ninjas actually. But he kills them, and then he is renewed. Oh, yeah, moving back. The girl now can speak because she said that she was taken a vow of silence until the sword and the brain are found. So he found the sword, and he also found the golden brain. And she said that she took a vow of silence and she wasn't allowed to speak at all until somebody found those 2 things. So now she can speak. But she still doesn't speak much. It's super weird. He's like, oh, you can talk? And so there's that. So Then, renewed by the sword's power, Murat goes to free Ali from the wizard's dungeon. Basically, he's like, I left him there, I have to go get him. So Ali, being the little bitch that he is, gets envious of the sword. He gets angry, he's like, I want the sword. He's like, give me the sword. Murat's like, no. Like, I found it, I killed these 2 ninjas for it. I'm holding it. And Ali gets really angry and basically knocks Murat out, and he steals the brain and the sword from him. He takes them. I made a mistake. He didn't actually take them. Murat defeated him and basically knocked him out, and then he was recaptured again by the wizard because he's a little piece of shit who's useless. Then Murat has to go and try and save Ali, so he goes to free him. Ali is also killed while trying to escape. Again, an idiotic attempt to escape. He died. He's dead. He's dead. Grief-stricken over his dumb friend, Murat melts the golden sword and the brain. He gets like this big pot of boiling liquid, and then he sticks his hands into them, this boiling pot of melted like gold sword and golden brain. He sticks his hands in them, and when he takes them out, there are these like golden gloves that he is like, these are so much cooler and so much better. And also golden boots. So he's like equipped, ready to fight, ready to throw some hands, ready to defeat this wizard. The magical gloves and super jumping boots, even though throughout the movie he could already jump pretty high, whatever, he takes them and he goes to look for the wizard to avenge his friend's death. He goes not to free all the refugees from the tyranny. He's not trying to defend his girlfriend or whatever the fuck she is, or her brother, out of this dictator, evil wizard person. He's not really trying to defend like anyone except the Earth. Yeah, he's from Earth. So anyway, he fights through numerous monsters and skeletons, and he goes from punching them and kicking them to now with these magic boots and these magic gloves, he just rips off their heads and kicks holes through their stomachs. So, and he's like chopping off limbs, he's doing all of that. So it is violent, or it would be violent, except all of the monsters are massive furry creatures that would look like something off of Yo Gabba Gabba. Anyway, so he karate chops all these people, and then he comes face to face with this wizard. And this is the funniest fucking scene in the whole movie, okay? The wizard is like, I'm going to destroy Earth, which is what he's been saying this whole time. There's like this weird sequence where there's flashing images of the Death Star from Star Wars blowing up a random planet, mixing in with him being like constantly just, I'm destroying Earth. I'm gonna destroy Earth. No one, I'll put a clip here if I can. So there's that. So Murat comes face to face with him, and he keeps doing his weird like disappearing thing. And finally, Murat catches him and just karate chops him in half, just like straight down the middle. And the way they edit this is really funny. They basically just like black out half the screen over half of the wizard's body. So he karate chops him in half, and then leaves. Yeah, he leaves. He leaves his girlfriend and her brother. He doesn't take them with him. He's just like, bye, I'm going to go find Earth. And then he leaves. And yeah. So that is the plot of the movie. I'm almost certain I'm missing out some stuff. Most of my notes were taken from the fan wiki and the Wikipedia. I did not have the strength in me to watch the movie again. Maybe I'll make another video where I watch it, but I didn't have time. So this was a summary, a loose summary. We come to the end of this movie. I leave the theater the shell of the woman I used to be, a changed person, in shock, surrounded by like-minded individuals who are just kind of sitting there laughing in just confusion. And I come to realize that this might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But it is also one of the most individual experiences I've ever had, and a very few group of other people share that experience. A very few group, I said. And I will treasure that experience for the rest of my life. I don't know what that experience was. I don't know if it was positive. I don't know how to explain it. All I know is I will never experience anything like it ever again. So that is how we come to the end of Turkish Star Wars, a movie that virtually violated every single copyright law, going down in history as being one of the worst films in history, brutally just knocking off Star Wars and stealing music, sound effects, footage from all sorts of movies, yet has remained one of the biggest it has a huge cult following, and remains to me one of the funniest pieces of lost or abandoned media to this day, and it's appreciated by many Star Wars fans as some kind of like niche inside joke. So it has gained a cult following because of that. And with that, we come to the end of Turkish Star Wars. So yeah.